You're listening to WCAT Radio, your home for authentic Catholic programming.
Welcome. My name is Frank Ambrosio, and I'm the director of the My Dante project at Georgetown University. Today it's my great pleasure to welcome you to a reading of the second canticle of Dante's Divina Commedia, voiced by Daniel Fitzpatrick. Danny will be reading his own translation of the poem, recently completed to honor the 700th anniversary of the great poet's death in the year 1321. Poetry is meant to be spoken and heard. Listen now as Dan Fitzpatrick reads the Purgatorio, the great story of the rebirth of human hope.
Hello and welcome back to the Dante in a Year podcast. My name is Danny Fitzpatrick. As I mentioned last time, we have just passed the 700th anniversary of Dante's death, which took place on September 14th, 1321. Of course, we've also, in terms of our podcast, just passed the Terrace of Pride, which is where Dante predicts he himself will have to spend a great deal of time. We can hope, of course, that Dante's poetic journey helped to absolve him, helped to clear him of some of that pridefulness which he felt in life. But it's also worth, I think, perhaps taking the time just to say a prayer for the soul of Dante, and to ask that if he is in purgatory, that his time there be passed a bit more expeditiously. Let's continue with Dante's Purgatorio, Canto 14. Who is this that circles our mountain before death has given him flight, and who opens and covers his eyes as he wills? I know not who he is, but I know he's not alone. You ask him as you're nearer, and hail him sweetly so that he'll speak. So two spirits, the one inclined to the other, reasoned about me there on the right hand. Then they raised their faces supine to speak to me, and the one said, O soul that's fixed in its body, still holding a course for heaven, for charity, console us and say to us how you came here and who you are. For you make us marvel as much at your grace as would a thing that's never been before. And I, through the Tuscan midst meanders a little stream that's born in Falterona, and its 100-mile course can't sate it. From over it I bear this fleshly resonance. To say to you who I am would be to speak vainly, for my name yet sounds but little. If my mind has apprehended your intention, he who'd spoken first then answered, You speak of the Arno. And the other said to him, Why did he hide the name of that river, just as one hides horrid things? And the shade that was asked this thus discharged himself, I don't know, but the name of such a vale is well worthy of perishing. For from its outset, where so swell the Alpine mounts from which Pelorus is broken, that the marks excelled in few places, to there where it renders itself to restore that which the sky sucks up from the sea, so that the rivers too have that they run with, people flee virtue as something inimical to all, as a serpent, whether by ill fortune upon the place, or by evil habit that searches them. So that the miserable valley's inhabitants have so changed their natures, it seems that Circe has them at pasture. Among the ugly pigs, more worthy of acorns than of other food fit for human use, it first directs its impoverished course. Then, coming down, it finds wild dogs, snarling more than their power calls for, and disdaining them it turns its muzzle away. It cascades on, and as much more as it's engorged, so much more does the ill-starred forsaken ditch find the dogs have turned to wolves. Having descended more through pitch-black gashes, it finds the foxes so full of fraud that they fear no ingenuity, knowing none can snare them. Nor will I leave off speaking, since another hears me, and it will be good for him if he yet bears in mind that truth the spirit's unbound for me. I see your grandson, who becomes a hunter of those wolves upon the bank of the fierce stream, and dismays them all. He sells their flesh yet living. After that he cuts them down like ancient beeves. He deprives so many of life, and himself of prestige. Blood-bathed he exits the desolate wood. He leaves it such that from now for 1,000 years will the wood swell as in its primal state. As at the announcement of danger arising, the visage of the one who listens is disturbed, wherever that peril might show itself, so I saw the other soul, who had turned to hear, disturbed and soon distressed, after he gathered the word to himself. The speech of the one and the look of the other made me wish to know their names, and so I asked, mixing my demand with prayers. At which the spirit that had spoken with me first began again. You wish me to bring out to you as gift that which you'd not offer me. But given God wills that his grace so shine in you, I'll not be scarce to you. So know that I was Guido del Duca. My blood was so parched with envy that if I saw a man happy, you would have seen me suffused with venom. I reaped such straw as I sowed. O human race, why do you place the heart there where it must be divested of its consorts? This one is Rinier. This is the prize and the honor of the house of Calboli, where none has since made himself an heir of his valor. And not just his blood was made barren, but also between the Po and mountain and sea and Reno, of all that's necessary for truth and knightliness. For that within these boundaries is replete with venomous tendrils, so that in any attempt to cultivate it might be too late. Where is the good Lizio and Arrigo Mainardi, Pier Traversaro and Guido di Carpigna? O Ramonuoli, now turned into bastards! When in Bologna will a Fabro spread limbs again? When in Faenza a Bernardine di Fosco, noble shoot of a creeping weed? Don't marvel if I weep, O Tuscan, when I remember with Guido da Prato, Ugolino Dazzo who lived with us, Federico Tignoso and his brigade, the Traversari and the Anastaghi, and the one line and the other are disinherited. The ladies and the knights, the efforts and the labors that love and courtesy involved there, where the hearts are made so evil. O Bertinoro, why did you not flee from here, if your own family and many other people have cast themselves out not to be in sin? Bagnacavallo does well not to sire more sons, and Castrocaro does evil, and Conio worse, and snared in siring more such counts. The Pagani will do well, after their demon wanders on, but not so that a pure testament will ever now remain of them. O Ugolin de Fantolin, your name is secure, now that no more are expected who'd have power to obscure it among their spreading shoots. But go on now, Tuscan, for now it pleases me more to weep than to speak. So much has our reasoning strained my mind. We knew that those kind souls heard us go, so, keeping silent, they gave us confidence in our way. Then we were proceeding all alone, and there appeared like lightning when it splits the air, a voice that joined us, saying, Whoever seizes me will slaughter me. And it fled as thunder that dispels itself, when suddenly it strikes the cloud. As after that our hearing was relieved, behold, another followed with such great force that it seemed the thunder's sudden echo. I am Aglaros, who was turned to stone. And then, to draw myself nearer to the poet, I took a step right rather than ahead. Now the air on every side was quiet, and he said to me, That was the hard bit that ought to hold a man to his aim. But all of you take the bait, so that the hook of the antique adversary tears you toward him, and then the rain and call avail you little. The heavens call and turn their gyre about you, showing you the beauties of eternity, and your eye marvels only at the earth, and so he batters you, he who sees all. Thanks again for joining me on another episode of the Dante in a Year podcast as we celebrate today the 700th anniversary of Dante Alighieri's death. Let's continue to pray for him, and I look forward to seeing you next time for Dante's Purgatorio, Canto 15.
Hello, God's beloved. I'm Annabelle Mosley, author, professor of theology, and host of Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. I invite you to listen in and find inspiration along this sacred journey we're traveling together to make our lives a masterpiece and, with God's grace, become saints. Join me, Annabelle Mosley, for Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. God bless you. Remember, you're never alone. God is always with you.
Thank you for listening to a production of WCAT Radio. Please join us in our mission of evangelization. And don't forget, love lifts up when knowledge takes flight.